What's going on, YouTube? JT is born here, and welcome back to another edition of my Godzilla comic book reviews. And in this video, we're talking about Godzilla Escape the Deadzone, which is part of the Kai-Sei Era. So this is the second series IDW is launching in their shared little Godzilla comic book universe. We have Godzilla Kai-Sei Era, which is the main title. Then we have Godzilla Escape the Deadzone, and then the third one is Starship Godzilla. So between the first two that I've read so far, I actually found this one to be a little bit more interesting in the story it's trying to tell. I do think calling it Godzilla Escape the Deadzone is a little misleading because aside from maybe a little cameo of Godzilla looking, there isn't any Godzilla in this comic book, not even really like a big page. I mean, he's on the cover right there. I feel like that's a little bit misleading. I mean, Godzilla's kind of the name brand recognition that you need, but you should have given him at least just one page. Still, though, this is more about the aftermath of the rising of the kaiju and how the world kind of changed. So they call this thing the Deadzone, and no, I'm not talking about the first Dragon Ball Z movie, Dragon Ball Z Deadzone with Garlic Jr. This is a zone where the devastation caused by the kaiju attacks was so devastating that it kind of cut it off from the rest of the world. It became kind of this crazy post-apocalyptic wasteland that was basically seen as uninhabitable. And that led to kind of the arrival of some new stuff. So we have, in the previous series, the main series, we had the mutants. Now we have, like, the hybrids. And the main character in this thing is a half-man, half-kaiju, kind of known as the Wanderer. So I thought this one was pretty interesting. So this one's written by Ethan S. Parker and Griffin Sheridan, art by Pablo Tunica, our letters and design by Nathan Whittick, and editor Jake Williams. So I did enjoy reading this one more than I did the other one, mostly because I found the concept to be pretty interesting. Although I think calling it Godzilla Escape the Deadzone or whatever, I think is a little bit misleading. Don't advertise Godzilla on the title if you're not going to have him really appear in the comic book. I think that's a mistake right there, and that'll probably leave some people disappointed. But I'm sure he'll probably appear more in this series as it goes on, so it's more the aftermath. I mean, I am assuming this eye is Godzilla. That's really it, because you don't really see him in this thing. But yeah, I mean, they do mention him in that too. Like, some guys like, I survived the attack by Godzilla. But he's also talking about stories of a half-man, half-kaiju, which we see as our character. And one thing I did appreciate about this is also the first Godzilla comic book where someone outright just says fuck multiple times. Like, it's uncensored too, so I was kind of surprised by that. Usually with these things, they have little other types of characters stumble in to kind of compensate for the swearing. But no, this half-man, half-kaiju straight up says fuck multiple times in this thing. And I'm like, hell yeah, we're definitely in something a little bit more like R-rated too. Plus, we get some interesting looking monster designs and the way he has to kind of survive this wasteland by fighting in it too. We have people with kind of cybernetic limbs. Like, this is how you do an interesting looking like post-apocalyptic kind of world here, kind of cut off from everything else, which, you know, was kind of neat. I thought that was an interesting take to kind of take the aftermath of a Godzilla story to see how the land and everything's kind of evolved in that, like just this wanderer character in that. So we have an interesting hook, an interesting setup, and then basically it kind of ends. There's a kaiju attack going on, and after the fight, we see a big kind of cliffhanger ending where it seemed that some sort of child was controlling this kaiju to fight another thing too. So as the Wanderer kind of rescues him too. And he has an interesting design. He's got the hair and all that. He's got the tail and everything. So yeah, we have the mutants, and we now have, I guess, would you call this guy a mutant or just kind of like a hybrid, since he's like a half man, half kaiju? So an interesting hook for the storyline. And like I said, the big disappointing factor would be there's just not very much Godzilla in this thing. This is more about the world surrounding him. So, but you know, it's only issue 1. I still thought it was an interesting storyline, even without Godzilla really appearing in it all that much. And because of the title, like I said, I would have expected at least like one page instead of people just kind of talking about it. But again, it's kind of like Monarch Legacy of Monsters, but that's not necessarily called Godzilla. He does appear in it a little bit scattered throughout the show, but it's more about the aftermath of these monsters, and that's kind of where this one takes its story approach too. So, but it did have the more interesting hook between the two stories so far. I'm very curious to know about like Starship Godzilla, to see how that turns out. But for a first issue, I thought this one was pretty solid. It had an interesting hook, interesting design, interesting bit of world building. And I'm curious to see how this whole Kai-Sei Era all comes together. They also have a little bit of stuff kind of at the end of the issue to kind of talk about like what's controlling that kaiju and all the interesting little stuff going on there. So if you want a little bit more Godzilla, check out the first one. But if you want kind of a more interesting storyline set in the world where Godzilla is like occupied it, then I'd say check check this one out. So I guess, check them both out. You got to give things a couple issues to really see how they kind of turn out and things. But so far, I thought this one was kind of unique. And I'm looking forward to seeing where the third series comes together in the Kai-Sei Era and to see how these all kind of tie in together. But this one's definitely a little bit more R-rated compared to some of the other stuff. I mean, like I said, they say fuck multiple times in a Godzilla comic book, which I got a chuckle out of it. So, but anyways, what did you think of Godzilla Escape the Deadzone as part of the second series, launching series for the Kai-Sei Era? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, subscribe to the YouTube channel for more boy, I can't even talk right now. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. Hit the bell for notifications, all the other fun stuff. And that's going to wrap it up for my comic book reviews for the week. It's kind of nice to get them both done. And you know what? No DC books. So that was kind of a nice little breather. And I'll be back again next week. I think we got a new Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong comic book and some other stuff on the way. So look forward to all that stuff. All right, well, that's all I have to say. As always, take care now. Bye-bye then, and I'll see you all in the next video. Peace out.